Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 105 of the Seezus Show. It's great to be back because I am extremely so excited to discuss with Trader XXIV and myself the major trade acquisitions slash buyouts that have happened within this past week in the NBA as well. So before we even get into today's hottest topics, I love to rehash on the previous episode, which was episode 104. So it was Trader XXIV and myself, and we both discussed LeBron's injuries, obviously ankle injury, Boston rebuilding, 76ers without Embiid, concerns with KD moving forward, Blake's expectations for the Nets, LaMelo's Rookie of the Year run, Clippers being a threat, and much, much more. So I'm just excited to get into it. But before I get into it, just make sure to subscribe on all forms of social media at The Seezus Show, at Sir Seezus, at Trade Day XXIV. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for my co-host, my boy, Trade Day XXIV. What it do, baby? Let's get it.
What's up, everybody? You already know what the heck is going on. It's your boy Trey Day all day. Trey 5 years in another life. I've been here before, did it, all that good stuff. But yo, it's episode 105 of the Seezus Show. Here with your NBA's hottest topics. I mean, the hottest topics. So what's good with you, sir? Seezus?
I'm good, man. I'm very, very good. I felt like I was in a slightly dark place this past week. Like, I just kind of felt unmotivated. Like, I have spurts of being productive, and then I also have spurts of just kind of being unmotivated and just lacked any energy to do anything. But luckily
Okay.
for me, it really doesn't last that long. This kind of lasts a little pretty long though, but it doesn't normally last as long as it would for some people. I'm pretty quick to bounce back, but I got a chance to go snowboarding this weekend for my cousin's birthday, so I had a great time, man. So if you've been a little hesitant on snowboarding slash skiing, definitely try that out as well too.
Okay.
They say skiing is easy to learn, hard to master, and snowboarding is hard to learn and easier to master.
Interesting.
I had a brief little stint back in college when I was like a freshman slash early sophomore years where I used to longboard. So that kind of helped out as well too. And there's like different tiers. I think there's like three different tiers to go for snowboarding. So they have like the intro one, and then like the oh, okay, well you passed training, yeah, you passed pre-K, let's get it. Then you have the oh my god, it's OD. Like I don't know if you remember this reference from SpongeBob, but I forgot what they were doing. I think it was the episode from the first season actually, when Sandy wanted to do hella stuff with SpongeBob one day, and then one of the last activities they did, they kind of went up these huge slopes and went down.
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah.
do the last one because I was like, I ain't ready for that yet. But
What you
I still
did.
had a great time. Nice getaway at Big Bear Lake. Probably never gonna go skiing. Just gonna stick to snowboarding because it's fun. But I ain't gonna lie to
Okay.
you, I busted my ass a lot. But I had a great time. Lower body's pretty much shot, but I definitely want to go back again as well too. So if you can make it, if you can make it, a trip up here as well too, maybe we can plan something because that shit is fun as hell. Like that's all I'm
Word.
thinking about right now. Like I want to go back.
We'll have to make some shit then. All right, but nah, I know. Nah, I know. That's
Yeah,
what's
but
up.
I'm recharged and refueled, man. I feel great. Just taking a day at a time, and that's about it, man. What about you?
I'm kicking it, man. Probably spent way too much money on a happy hour last weekend. And I'm about to Kobe. I hate it had to be him. Um, to pay some bread to DC's speeding cameras. Like that's the worst
Ouch.
thing ever, bro. Yeah, I gotta pay some bread to DC speeding cameras. Like thing is, bro, like I'm going like the speed of traffic, and like
Mhm.
they're like, oh, glad you calling. It was like all the same weekend because I was only up there like one weekend, and they got me for all that. So I was like, man, so I'm about to pay the bread while I got it, keep it going, so on and so forth. But that joint got me tight. But this weekend it was cool, relaxed. Probably ran around way too much than more than I needed to, but I don't know. I'll be coaching coming up here soon with these next 2 weekends, so run around when I can, and it was chill, man. So a little refreshing. All right,
That's good. That's good. That's good. So I'm happy to hear that as well too. So without further ado, you ready to get into today's hottest topics?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, man. Last week has been pretty crazy, man. It kind of feels like Christmas. You waiting all day slash all week, all night to kind of figure out what Santa's kind of brought you or whatnot as well too. And that kind of felt like an equivalency to free agency. Well, not free agency, NBA trade deadline. There was so many Woj bombs being dropped.
Hmm.
Every couple minutes or whatnot with major updates as well too. So this is probably wasn't necessarily the best, but one of the most exciting free or trade deadlines that we've seen in such a long time as well too. So I guess we can start off with with the backstory, the context. So the biggest trade bait this trade deadline was supposed to be Kyle Lowry, so everybody's saying, "Oh my God, Kyle Lowry, Kyle Lowry, Kyle Lowry, Kyle
Hmm.
Lowry's gonna be the
Hmm.
missing piece. He might go to Lakers, he might go to Miami, he might go to 76ers." Meanwhile, in my head, I'm praying, "Yo, can he please go to Clippers? Like, I would love that, but we just don't have the money for what $30 million a year and whatnot." So
Yeah, you can't
that
pay
was
him.
the biggest thing, and he was kind of the domino effect. So once he kind of lost on everything, we kind of figured out who was going to go where, or the move started, move itself as well too. And from Kyle Lowry's perspective, that kind of has to be stressful because he just turned 35, and the trade
Yeah.
deadline was on his birthday too. So I know he was semi lit slash semi in his feels a little bit as well too. But at the end of the day, every team was basically like, "Yo, y'all asking for too much." He's kind of old. Plus, his contract's expiring, so we don't really know if he's gonna basically sign long term with us. So we're not gonna basically gut our roster a little bit just for him to be a
Yeah.
rental for 30 plus more games as well too. So I kind of
Yeah.
understand that as well too. And he kind of came on interviews last week and the week before, basically said like he's gonna retire a Raptor, even if it's something where he gets traded, comes back, does like a 10-day contract or whatever. He's gonna retire a Raptor as well too. So
Hmm.
I was happy he was able to stay. Raptors are still pretty much fighting for positioning right now, and anything can happen with these, given last 30 days as well too. So Kyle Lowry, I'm happy that you stayed packed, but I would have loved to see some shakeup as well too. But going on from that, I guess we can start with the biggest fish bait that there was in the sea. And I'm talking about LaMarcus Aldridge. LaMarcus Aldridge got his contract bought out from the Spurs. Spurs fan, I kind of already knew that was happening. And, it's been a love-hate relationship with LaMarcus Aldridge these past 4 or 5 years. And obviously the past 2.5, 3 seasons with DeMar DeRozan has been kind of love-hate as well, too, because I always felt like there were those players who looked great in the regular season, but when it came down to in the playoffs, they just weren't able to get over that hump, being the cornerstone of our franchise. So I was like, you know what? Let's just go young. Let's try to get some draft picks and expiring contracts in them and just try to rebuild and see what happens with that as well too. So LaMarcus, thank you for everything that you've done. Now it's time for you to go get a ring, in which he probably will as well too. So LaMarcus has his contract bought out. There was a whole narrative like, yo, is he going to go to Miami? Is he going to go to Lakers? The Lakers
Hmm.
obviously missing AD. Miami, they have Bam, but Bam's not really a true big. They basically got to compete with the Nets and obviously the Philadelphia 76ers, who have the number one seed. And you also had the Celtics too, where it's just like they got rid of Tice, and that's been always their that's been something that's been constant for them, like their ability to not have that solid big that they can count on, that they can rely on. So in my
Hmm.
head, I'm like, yo, LaMarcus, you've been kind of complaining that you want to play more minutes, but at the same time, I know that you're aging. But in my head, from a competitive standpoint, I'm just thinking like, yo, you're still good enough to where you can essentially make a difference for a team that just needs you to get over that threshold as well too. So I thought it was pretty much done. We kind of on our social media account, the Seezus Show on Instagram, we kind of prematurely said, "Yo, he's going to the Heat," because all signs pointed that he was going to the Miami Heat. Didn't happen as well too, and basically it's going to go between the Heat. Deciding factor is going to be the Heat, and deciding factor is going to be the Nets. But he said, given the 6 game losing streak, it's crazy because 2 episodes ago we are just praising Miami Heat getting back to the 14 out of the AC. Given their 6 game losing streak, he was just like, I ain't really sold on y'all like that. Y'all kind of frost to me. So end up signing to the Nets as well too this season, averaging 14.4 points per game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists. Still playing relatively well. Career low minutes, 26 minutes per game, as opposed to 30, 33, 35 minutes per year for his average for his career. Still shooting 46% from the free throw line, 36% from the three being a big, and then 84% from the free throw line as well too. So, um, just focusing on LaMarcus before we even go into the Nets itself. How do you feel about LaMarcus going to the Nets? Do you think it was kind of a cop out? Do you understand that he's going to get her going for a ring? He's 35 years old now. And what do you expect from him moving forward?
Um, Lamar, it's interesting because I look at him and it's like, all right, he was Blazers pretty dominant. Came out of there and I guess Pop thought he was going to get a steal, like a more, athletic Tim Duncan. We've come to know as time has went on that, nobody's going to be Tim Duncan, who was just like a surefire points, reliable, defensive. And maybe that's what it was. Maybe they were looking for Marcus Aldridge to be that defensive centerpiece in the middle. And he wasn't that, he could get his points, but he signed with them what, like 5 years ago? And those 5 years have like flown past, man. When I don't know, I know just a different style of basketball up there now, and just in general. But you think about him, maybe they wouldn't have had the space with the Blazers, but you think about him and like Dame, and just having that surefire uh post to feed to. I mean, they have other guys up there that are hooping, of course, but you're like, yo, if you would have stayed, what would that have looked like? But you never know. Those pieces have to be acquired, and so for each team to look how they want to look. Um, and I'll give a hot take. Honestly, I mean, he hasn't been in the most favorable of organizations. And I can't say that because the Blazers they put themselves in position each year. We're definitely having Dame, but it's kind of been disappointing for me. Like watching him in a way, and this is no slight to him, but it's like, yo, like he's a premier big man. I know the league's not all for it right now, but it's like, yo, like you would think, in a system, Spurs always get to the playoffs, such and such like that. Hey, Greg Popovich, yo, you're gonna be the corner piece guy. They kind of got DeMar DeRozan, but it seems like that's where those superstars, those kind of superstars, they go to die in the Spurs, and the Spurs just have better luck and better poise building from the ground up, from the draft up, and so on and so forth. But even in this scenario, Lamarcus Aldridge with around 14 points a game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, and at 35, 36 years old, maybe 36, I believe. Um, hey, I think he probably made the right move. He's going into his sunset of his career. He's not a crazy big production guy, but on a team that already has that firepower to push them over the edge and be a surefire win. He made the best decision for him. I'm assuming. So that's all I can think about him going to the Nets.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you as well too. Like I said, love hate relationship with him with Spurs, but with the pieces that are around us and what he did, what was asked of him from Coach Pop, having to sacrifice for Kawhi, having to coexist with Timmy and Tony and Manu and all them, and battling the heart arrhythmia and everything like that. Like, kudos to him as well too. And like you said, he's on the ladder. He's past his prime now. You know what I'm saying? He's still productive, but it's about that time. So at the end of the day, we remember you for wins and losses, for championships, no championships. So what better way to go into the sunset than to, go out with a bang with the Nets as well too. So I expect him to come off the bench as well too, along with Blake, and I expect him to give you anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes, and I expect him to be more efficient, have a lot of pick and pops, be a solid rim protector, high IQ level as player as well too. And when you need to, when there's a mismatch in the paint, he's going to just be a dog there. So um,
Right.
he's gonna be great for them as well too. Now moving with the Nets, man, like, is it a foregone conclusion now that they are just the overwhelming favorites right now? Because already got Kyrie, you already got James Harden, you already got KD. We everyone was thinking Blake was washed. I'm one of the guys who was like, nah, he just in a bad situation. Like, they kind of asked Blake essentially, yo, we know you're getting paid the most on our team. Basically, when you get paid the most, that means you're the focal point of that offense or the team as well too. You're not only the leader, but you're the best player as well too. So you're going to take the most shots. They kind of come in this year and be like, all right, well, we signed Jeremy Grant. We just drafted Killian Hayes. We're gonna go young. You're gonna take less. You're gonna, instead of taking 20 shots a game, you're probably gonna take 9, 10 shots a game. Instead of playing 35, 36 minutes a game, you're probably gonna play 25 minutes a game. And then your role basically is gonna be you're just going to be a leader to these young guys. And when you've been a player that has essentially, obviously they only got to the second round of the Clippers, but when you've been essentially been in that title contender every single year and you come to this bullshit, of course you ain't going to be as motivated to play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it just makes sense why he would go over there as well, too. And like you said, with LaMarcus, even though the Spurs are kind of still in playoff contention as well too, he did notice a reducement in his minutes. He did notice that Coach Pop wanted to go a little bit younger as well too, and like I said, they're in the process of rebuilding. I wouldn't be surprised if DeMar DeRozan gets shipped out within a year. I mean, he's about to be a free
Facts.
agent, so we'll see what happens with that as well too. But it just made sense for them to go there as well too. But now, like I said, you got Blake, you got DJ, you got Kevin Durant, you got Kyrie, you got Harden, you got Joe Harris, who's a sniper. You still have Jeff Green, who's one of the most underrated role players, in my opinion, right now in the league. Bruce Brown,
Yeah.
Claxton, Tyler Johnson. The list goes on and on and on. And I was looking at something the other day, and I tweeted that shit too. Between Blake, KD, Kyrie, DJ, LaMarcus, Harden, you have 47 total All-Star selections. 11 from KD, 9 from Harden, 7 each from Kyrie and LaMarcus, 6 from Blake, and then you got 1 from DJ. So now it's just like, Trey, like, that's high IQ on the floor at all times. Like,
Yeah. You
they
can't make a
shouldn't really
mistake.
miss a step on both ends of the floor for me. And a lot of people are saying, "Oh, well, I don't know if it's going to work out like that." I mean, we kind of thought that early on when Harden got acquired, or when there was rumors that Harden may get acquired via trade as well too. But at the end of the day, with all these players, they've all achieved their individual success. Now it's
Hmm.
just about putting your ego aside and winning a championship. So there's no doubt in my mind that they're going to know their role and they're going to play it to a T, in my opinion. So I don't see any problems moving forward. The only thing I'm concerned about is, you can say health, but that's the only thing that's really stopping them right now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I think they're solid. They're a favorite just from looking in their direction. They passed the eye test in a way, and the name test. What concerns me, and this is a broader subject, which is like maybe because we've seen trades get vetoed. Like again, always come back to Kobe couldn't get Chris Paul, but they could get all those. So it's like, what's going on? Where's the future of the league headed? With this, we've seen, of course, like teams that have three superstars, as you could say, that were the Durant, uh, Clay, Curry, that was the LeBron James, the D Wade, and the Chris Bosh. But I don't even know if that was to this effect. I'll have to look up how many points Bosch was averaging going into. I know he was the man in Toronto, but really how many points and all that compared to some of the other ones that have just occurred in this last kind of decade. And it's interesting, like he's 36. He's 36. What more do you need? Shout out to Supreme Dreams. But it's like, yo, like he's 36, right? So granted, he kind of started this trend in a way. But at the same time, like what like why are these getting approved? Is it because these guys are in like the twilights of their career, or and they're like the sun is setting on their career, or for some of these guys, and you could argue that like I feel like Blake got at least 3 or 4 more years in him, definitely. LaMarcus Aldridge might have 2 or 3. And then you have some people sprinkled out in there with some good role players. It's already a good team. You have superstars that are gonna play. I think KD's probably gonna play for another 5, 6 years, like at the level he's definitely playing at. I think James Harden is one of those guys that can play till he's 40. You know what I'm saying? Kyrie, we've seen guards, but Chris Paul's up there in age. Chris Paul's like what, 36, 37, maybe, if not
Like 35,
36.
35, I think.
30,
I think he's
yeah,
younger
yeah,
than
30,
Bron. He's younger than Bron, yeah.
younger than Bron. Yeah, well, I'm saying like we've seen these guards that are playing too. So these guys are gonna play well into that. But it's like, is there gonna be any regulation for this? And if there's not, cool, whatever. Like let's go boogie. We're just gonna stack these perennial powers, and it's gonna be a certain way. But then you have maybe not the IQ, maybe not the body to fill it out, and this would take a toll going into NBA playoffs and such like that, and playing these teams. But you have these kids that are coming out that are definitely more skilled. It's just going to take them a year or two to develop their bodies and so on and so forth. You could insert them on some role playing stuff, but then you do see teams like the Suns. You do see teams like the Jazz and so on and so forth with guys that are rolling. I mean, I would argue that Philadelphia is even like indicative of kind of like the younger generation coming up that just has a good team that's comprised of it, and are not these former or 40 picks of all stars before. And it's like, it's going to be a clash of that. And it's like, all right, how are we taking this league from a commissioning standpoint? So sometimes I think about it from governance. I think the Knicks are exciting. I think the possibility of them going to face the Clippers or a Lakers team, or we'll talk about the other teams that are up top there in the West too that they could face. But it's like, like there's a serious contrast, and if you're letting teams get built like this, cool. Power to the player, so on and so forth. But it's interesting because this is a shift we haven't seen in the league. We've seen big threes, such and such like that, but this is a little bit different than that, even so. So I don't know. I'm interested to see what happens.
Well, a couple things. Obviously, like that's one thing we can look back into the NBA history books with the whole veto that went down with the commissioner, RIP, the New Orleans. I think they're New Orleans Hornets at that time, and then the Los
Yeah,
Angeles
yeah.
Lakers. So the New Orleans Hornets at the time didn't have an owner. Like they just got an owner in 2018, so they were basically owned by the NBA. Obviously, they
Mm,
didn't want the idea of a super team created, but since there wasn't really an owner attached to it, they felt like, hey, if we trade for Chris Paul, and I think they're just going to get back like Lamar Odom and some draft picks and whatnot, we don't basically have that top tier piece to sell tickets. So it was a
yeah.
financial grab at the end of the day. I still think the trade should have went through, but I think it's something that's a little different in the fact that this is something that's different in the sense of the team is basically paying you to go away. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't want me, and by the books, by the records, I'm able to go wherever the freak I want. Obviously, it has to be a mutual agreement between the team that's buying into him. When he gets bought out, then who cares? You know what I'm saying? Like that's your fault that you didn't do your best to build a good team around me anyway. So I'm gonna rock either way. But I definitely agree with you with the whole disparity aspect. Like this is kind of OD in a sense. Like
Yeah.
there may be a time down the line where things kind of get patrolled down the line, but like you said, LeBron's done this before as well too. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? He's
He
a guy that
started.
probably started everything as well too. And then who are you more so mad at? Are you mad at players like LeBron and KD basically revamping and creating their teams itself, or what about the aspect of the owners doing it as well too? Why the owners are the ones who are doing a shitty job? It seems like the players are doing a better job as well too. So it's just a lot to go into that as well. So I definitely see it from both sides, but like me at the end of the day, is it OD or like you said, they still have years left in their career, as well too. You know what I'm saying?
You think they all come together?
Ray Allen still signed with Miami Heat back that one time as well too, or like when the Celtics squad was OD stacked in I think 2011 or something like that as well too. So we've seen it before, even with the Lakers. The
Mm-hmm.
Lakers actually had Gary Payton and they had Karl
Shaq,
Malone to go on
Kobe.
top of
Yeah.
Shaq and Kobe, and they still ain't win. But we've seen stuff like that before. I think it's going to continue to happen to this degree. I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like if roles are reversed, I feel like most people would do that as well too. And I think, and Max Kellerman kind of brought up a good point as well too. Are we more mad because of Blake and LaMarcus still being brand names? Because obviously, if you look at their numbers, they're still not quite the same. They're
Yeah.
basically just role players as well too. So that's very interesting that you brought that up as well too. Um, so you think when it's all said and done, we have this mindset that when Katie comes back, which it seems like he's going to be back within the next 2 weeks or so, they're going to start to roll, and maybe a little weird period to get adjusted to him. But he's kind of one of those players where you can just drop him anywhere, right? And he would just fit in seamlessly. Um, do you think now that they've acquired LaMarcus, James Harden through trade, and then obviously Blake Griffin through the buy as well too? Do you think now, or it's too early to tell, that this team is going to be up there with the Golden State Warriors with KD?
Mm, I'm not sure if they're as efficient as the Golden State Warriors, just from a shooting and a philosophy standpoint, I feel like you probably get a little bit more ISO. You got two guys that can run around all day, somebody you can't sag off on, and then somebody that's probably one of the best facilitator, forward, whatever you want to call Draymond of all time in his position, in his rolling. Um, I'm not sure if we're going to see that, but there's definitely the pieces to do so and the IQ, like we were saying, to do so. I think we'll see something similar, but I don't think it's going to be necessarily that. Maybe even, if I want to play both sides of the fence here, maybe we'll see something better if everything comes together. But I think this is more one of those things where, you got Katie on the floor, let him cook, but James Harden's on the floor. Boom, he's doing what he's doing. He's assisting, he's getting his buckets, being a glorified point guard role. Um, and honestly, for me, this depends on how they're guarding the pick and roll with the bigs and the cutting, and then it depends on possibly what Kyrie's stat lines are looking like. You know, because it could be just that, or if not better. But you're gonna have James Harden doing what he has to do. You're gonna have KD that's gonna spread the floor enough, and get back to being 7 foot tall, a guard. A 1 and 2 guard. Um, it's kind of comes down to some of Kyrie's numbers and what that swing looks like. But again, just looking at their rosters, like I think it can happen. Do I know if they're going to get rolling super efficiently like that? I'm not sure with the how much season there might be left, but
About
it's
30
definitely the
games.
possibility. Huh?
I'd say about 30 games.
Yeah. Well, 30 games, that's plenty of time. So I don't know. That Warrior team was super efficient. So and there's nothing saying this team can't be, but who knows? I just think there might be a little bit different personalities rather than the Warriors team. And some of these guys they can catch and shoot, but their superstars aren't catch and shoot guys. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing about the Warriors as well too, they not were only efficient offensively, they're one of the best
Defensively.
defensive teams as well too. And
Yeah.
there's really no player that comes to mind on that team who I say, oh, he's like a lockdown defender or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? So if they have any chinks in the armor, any weaknesses, I would say that it would probably be their defense. So I would just
Hmm.
basically try. I would try to. I mean, most teams do this anyways, but I would always try to exploit whatever bigs on the floor and get them out on the
Hmm.
perimeter. But other than that, I feel like their offense is going to be so overwhelming, and like I said, the fact that they have such a high IQ level, they're really never going to miss a step. And they've as of late, I think their last like 20 games are like 18-2 or something like that. Some 17-3, 18-2, something like that as well too. So
Going
I,
crazy.
I think their defense is good enough to get them to where they need to be as well too. So I don't really think they have weaknesses like that. But if there was one, there'll probably be injury concerns, no one really known for their defense, and at the same time, basically trying to basically get everyone to glue together, like you said, in those 30 games as well too. So those would probably be it. Now, with this trade or these new signings rather from the Nets that have been going down, do you still see any threats to them in the East at all?
Um, Barring if they're fully healthy, um, not necessarily. I think you still have to speak to teams like Philly, possibly the Bucks, but the Bucks haven't been just proven just yet. But you still have to speak to those teams when it comes to uh, Eastern Conference playoffs, conference finals, and so on and so forth. I think those teams that would have something to say. Um, I wouldn't even say the Heat because I mean I feel like the Heat are going to game plan really well, but the power that these teams are working with, but they're a sneaky team. But I just there's nothing in me from like a basketball standpoint that says like, yo, this team could be done up by another team in 7 games. I just don't see that happening.
Yeah, I don't see anybody beating them 7 games. I can see a scenario which I can see not the Bucks, I'm so sorry. I can see the Philadelphia 76ers taking them 7 games, but that's about it. You know what I'm saying? Because even though they're not really known for their defense, that's still a lot of bodies thrown at Joel Embiid, Blake
A lot.
Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge, Claxton, DeAndre Jordan. So he's going to get tired. And for them to even have a chance, Embiid's damn near going to have to go for 35, 40 a night, and Ben Simmons is going to have to up his game on another level. I still think they are the better defensive team, and they have enough length to basically stay in with them, and they've been pretty good honestly without Embiid so far. I think they only lost like one, maybe two games, but they've been winning it, been winning out as well too. So, I mean, in that matchup, what do you do? Do you try to put Ben Simmons on James Harden and basically try to say, let's just try to stop him from neutralize him from being that playmaker? Do you just basically let Kyrie, basically make the offense stagnant and kind of make him try to beat you every single time one on one? Like, how do you even try to go up against that? You know what I'm saying? So I've been just thinking of different strategies on what they can do. So I would probably put them as, if there's a team to take them, challenge them the most, it's probably the 76ers. Bucks, I still like them, but I just have to see them match up one or two more times in the regular season. And then Miami, man, I thought LaMarcus was going to go to Miami. That would
and
have
switch it up
changed
a
the
little bit.
game. That would have changed the
Yeah.
game so much. But I mean, the way the Miami Heat look right now, I know they're in the eighth seed. I think they're going to turn around. Like we said, there's still a lot of basketball left. They got about 30 games left. Now, having Iggy, having Jimmy, having Bam, having Victor, having Trevor Ariza, you have a lot of individual defensive players who can switch. So that may work for them as well too. But at the end of the day, I think it's
But
just
is
going to
Iggy
be
even playing
overwhelming.
like that?
Who?
Iggy?
Iggy's playing off the bench, but
Okay.
Iggy's doing Iggy, just facilitating, playing defense, just making
Yeah.
the right reads every single possession. So, yeah, I'll probably go to 76ers. Maybe Miami. I would have to see how they look moving forward, and then you can't count the Bucks yet because Greek Freak's been, just playing on another level as well too. So moving on to that, obviously LeBron James is out, Anthony Davis is out. Lakers actually won two games. I think they beat the Magic, who obviously decided to just say F it and just rebuild. And I think they beat, I can't remember the other team they beat, but they beat another team. I think it was OKC or something like that. Don't
Okay.
quote me though. But you know what was really going to be sick was if Andre Drummond effed around and went to the Nets too. I was like, yo, there could be a chance, but we'll see. And Andre Drummond's kind of in that same stratosphere as well too, where it's like, all right, you've been putting up great numbers this year, right? If I look at his numbers correctly, I think he was averaging, I think 17 and 13 rebounds, and I think shooting over 50% from the field as well too. So,
Yeah.
yeah, 17 and a half points per game, 14 rebounds, 3 assists, 48% from the field as well too. So it's one of those situations where it's like, yo, ever since LeBron James left, y'all just basically been trying to throw pieces there and trying to make it work. So why
Yeah.
am I going to be here? Let me go.
Yeah.
Let him go. Um, four-time rebounding champ as well too. So with him, I kind of thought it was going to be one of those things where it's like I said, Miami, Celtics, these other teams, they need a big. So where are you going to go? So I think to restore somewhat of a balance there, I think it just made the most sense given the injury history with the Lakers and them kind of, you know, losing Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee and adding Marc Gasol, who's washed now. I think it just made sense, for him to go over there as well too. So I like it a lot because you got someone who, like I said, replaces those two, who's a better scorer than Dwight and JaVale, traditionally speaking, who's a better rebound than both of them, traditionally speaking.
Yeah.
He's not as good of a rim protector as them, but he's still formidable as well too. And that was one thing that they were missing because teams this year, even though they had a relatively good winning record, you were able to basically get any bucket you wanted in the paint as well too. So I think with him and AD being in the front line, that's going to work numbers as well too. And if they're all healthy, I think they're going to be fine. But with Andre Drummond, what I'm saying, being one of the few that got his contracts bought out, what do you expect from him moving forward?
You know what had me messed up?
What's
Like
up?
all week, I know I was like, I must have been out of it because I kept interchanging in my mind Andre Drummond and Marcus Aldridge. Like it was like driving me crazy. I was like, wait. I kept seeing like Andre Drummond in the Lakers uni, and then I would hear like LaMarcus Aldridge's like name when I saw that. So I'll be like, everybody, wait, he went, and then they were like, no, he signed with the Lakers. I mean, but he signed with the Nets. So like I was like, wait, so LaMarcus Aldridge did he sign with the Nets or did he sign with the Lakers? I was like, he must have signed with the Lakers. Then I hear Andre Drummond. And like it just made me, it all made me think of LaMarcus Aldridge. So I was like messed up. And so my man was like, yo, he signed with the Lakers. I was like, okay. And then we finally just talked about LaMarcus Aldridge. I was like, all right, he signed with the Nets. Like, it's been messing me up. Like every big man's the same. But all right, I'm super clear now. But I think it's a good look for him, man. The Lakers and LeBron James, where big men go to save their careers and be revamped. You know what I'm saying? We saw
That's a
JaVale McGee.
fact.
Yeah, yeah, we saw JaVale, and even the Lakers in general. You know what I'm saying? Like they have an amazing track record of getting bigger guys and getting them some rings somehow, some way. Shaq was the focal point for a long time, but like not even for a long time, but that's what you think about when you say Lakers, big man. But then you think about, again, the Carl Malone. You think about all the bigger guys that came there. It's when the careers were on that kind of precipice, and the Lakers found a way to kind of win with them or put them in a position to compete for a championship. So they have a way of doing it, and that front office knows how to do it. I feel like Rob Palinka's up there. He has that game plan, but shoot, probably was it Danny Ainge? Or is the owner name right? No, what's the owner's name?
For for what team?
Say so for Lakers,
Oh, Jeannie
lady.
Buss.
Jeannie Buss. I don't know why I said Jeannie Ainge, but I'm tripping. But
Because Danny
Jeannie
Ainge
Buss.
is trash GM for the
Yeah,
Celtics. Go
we'll get
ahead. Though.
we'll get there. But Jeannie Buss, like, she probably has that playbook. Her people was like, yo, always get a big man by trade deadline, or and
I
we'll.
trade
But for real, but you got LeBron James, and again, I'll go back to my earlier point. For all intents and purposes, he made Dwight Howard and uh
JaVale McGee.
Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee, and you can credit this to the coaching and the system. But they bought into that, and they revamped, and we were like, yo, everybody was praising Dwight Howard for everything he did last year. They were like, yo, we're just so good to see Dwight get one. Shoot, they were praising JaVale McGee, who's Shaq and the Fool's favorite person. But he was hooping last year too, playing his role. So I don't see where any scenario where this guy who's definitely a better basketball player probably all around than them, where he can't come in and make a pretty damn good impact on the game and on that team. Like you said, Gasol is washed, and who we thought we were gonna get more out of him, but I knew he was washed. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I didn't, but whatever. But yeah. So shout out to Andre Drummond, and best of luck on the Lakers. I think it's gonna be a good little shakeup.
Honestly, yeah. So I mean, like I said, I like it. I love it. That's what they needed because we don't know how everyone's going to be moving forward. And like I said, they have that guy that can bang down low, and then they're outside of mindset. We're either going to go into the Nets or we're going to the 76. So you're going to need that extra buy as well too. But one thing I am concerned about is one, we were praising JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard. Obviously, Dwight Howard started to play more in the conference finals for Jokic, and then obviously in the finals to go up against Bam. But first two rounds, JaVale McGee and Dwight really didn't play like that as well too. So I'm kind of trying to wonder when it's all said and done, is this a huge transition? Is it just a small ball era where you're gonna have 80 at the five primarily? And also, traditionally speaking, Andre Drummond is a terrible free throw shooter. Is he
Yes,
gonna
sir.
be able to actually stay on the floor when it's 5-6 minutes to go as well too? Are they going to do something where they do like a hack and shack or something like that as well too? So those are my only concerns is the free throw shooting, and then basically when you go small, can you still keep them in? But I mean that's kind of a problem with everyone in the league, right? When you have a
Yeah.
traditional big or I guess the live threat big nowadays as well too. So it's going to be interesting to see as well. Um, Now, honestly, just looking at the Nets and looking at the Lakers, so the acquisitions from the Nets, the acquisition from the Lakers, in reality, is really KD versus Bron. Like that's the narrative what it is now.
Yeah, that's what we
So
see.
it's crazy because like you already know I'm a Kawhi fan, so I always want Kawhi to try to win and whatnot. But whenever Kawhi doesn't get far, I always look at Bron. I'm like, all right, like you my goat basically. So go ahead and try to get another championship. So it's gonna be one of those years where I'm kind of torn in between the East and the West because individually speaking, Harden, KD, Blake, LaMarcus, I rock with all of them. So I would love to
Hmm.
see all of them win as well too. But now that you kind of see LeBron as kind of the the underdog now. The Lakers are the underdogs now, which is weird. I'm kind of rooting for the underdog. I kind of like that underdog mentality in a sense as well too. Um, how do you see? How do you? I know it's too early to tell, and it's been a while since we've seen AD and LeBron together with that squad, and obviously Drummond hasn't even touched, hasn't even put on his Lakers uniform. I don't even know his uniform's been made yet. But how do you see that series panning out with both of them?
Mm, if I had to give it a series at this junction right now, I would probably go, and everybody's healthy.
Everybody healthy.
Uh, I would go. All right. So if it was two alternate universes, I would go Nets in six or Lakers in seven.
Lakers in seven.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It depended on
I
who
think.
gets home court too. I'm assuming that would be Brooklyn would get the home court.
Do you think home court
Um,
matters this year though? Because we're not going to be at full capacity. We're probably going to be
mm,
over 50%, probably anywhere between, I'm assuming like 50 to 70%, but I don't think it's going to be fully decked out. But then again, if you have anything, that's still somewhat of an advantage as well too. But I feel like home court this year through the
I think that
pandemic and
travel
everything that's been
matters.
going on, traveling matters. You think?
Yeah, I think that matters a little bit more. But I mean, not as much like you said. But I'm just thinking about 2 games on at a place, respectively, 1 game off, 2 games on, so on and so forth. I think if the Lakers can, well, they're not going to get that because Boston's where, not Brooklyn's where they're in like what the third seed right now.
No, Brooklyn's the second seed right now, I believe.
I don't see the
Lakers
Lakers catching
are
them.
yeah. Or what are you
So
talking
I
about? The
would
East?
give,
Well, record wise, record wise.
yeah, that would
Okay.
determine who would get the higher seed. So right now it would be
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Brooklyn. It would give them 2 games there. I could still see LeBron and company still in one in Brooklyn, just because maybe some of those guys haven't seen the finals in a while, so on and so forth, or ever seen the finals. So that's a totally different stage if you get there. Um, my soul and me not being uh provocative would say the Nets will get it. You know, but if I had to give some hope to the underdog and for them to go ahead and get their really, really juicy part for LeBron James documented that they're going to release the second he retires or 10 years after he retires. And we're talking about some other kid being the greatest of all time, yada, yada, like that. I say Lakers in seven, beautiful money grab, amazing. LeBron James, solidify him. He doesn't have to win another game ever again in life. He's probably going to be chilling every season until like the All Star break, and then he might play a few games and then chill again, whatever like that. But they're gonna encase him in gold if he beats the Brooklyn Nets this year. It's going to be Space Jam part one, two part one for him, and then Space Jam two part two for him. You know what I'm saying? That's how I see it going. If they
Yeah,
want,
I was about to say Clippers. I got the Nets in 6 or 7 games. I think I'm more so lean towards six because if we look at every single championship that motherfuckers have won, one, star power, they got that. Two, whoever's the healthiest, that kind of gets favored, and they have enough depth to cover that in case something happens. And then three, depth as well too. I just feel like the Lakers role players have been pretty inconsistent with Kyle Kuzma. With honestly, the only person that's been consistent, honestly, outside of their star players, has probably been Montrezl Harrell. Other than that,
mm,
if KCP going to go 3 from 6 from the field or 0 of 8 from the field. You don't know if Kyle Kuzma gonna just shoot lights out one night or just clank it one night. Wesley Matthews has been a terrible sounding as well too. Terrence Horns Tucker, he's shown some flashes of being good. He has a potential, but he's still a little bit inconsistent as well too. Like we said, Marcus O. Why? So I think you're gonna
oof,
have to stagger their minutes first and foremost with Brown and 80. Like they're gonna have to be on the floor. One of them gonna have to be on the floor at all times. And maybe Shooter can run the show, but I just feel like it's gonna be overwhelming. And I think what it's really gonna come down to is depth. And I just feel like with
yeah,
Blake and LaMarcus, with those boys, and you're probably gonna keep Kyrie or Harden at all times. I just don't really see them missing a step like that. But I do think
yeah.
LeBron James and AD have that championship experience. I think LeBron is the best at being the game manager, and he's going to get efficient shots for not only himself. AD's not going to get efficient shot for himself, but he's going to generate efficient shots for that offense. And the Lakers are one of the best defensive teams, so I think they can stay in the series, but it's just going to be overwhelming for them as well too. So I think Bron and AD can win you 2 games, just because of the defense that the Nets showcase. I mean, the lack of defense that the Nets showcase. So we'll see what happens. But if I had to go with it, given everything, I probably got the Lakers losing the 6 games and the Clippers. I mean, and the Nets winning the 6 game as well too. Um, moving on from that, I know everybody been saying this as well too, but I'm gonna have to bring it up. Now, everyone nine times out of 10 say Jordan's a GOAT. And for our generation, we say LeBron's a GOAT. If LeBron happens to beat, like I said, 42 combined all-star selections, is he now the proclaimed like unanimous GOAT? Like, is there still even a debate anymore between him and MJ?
If LeBron does this at 36 years old,
36. I'm 36, me. I'm 36. God damn. That's so OD, bro.
yeah, if he does this at 36, and it's not like a Peyton Manning Super Bowl performance when he was with the Broncos and they were playing the Panthers, where he was just had all day to throw the ball, whatever like that. Um, if it's that kind of scenario, to where he's like producing like the efficient LeBron James as we know him to be, uh, it's gonna be a hard argument for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's gonna be hard. He's like, yo, such and such was like, yeah, well, we ain't never seen nothing like this before. I mean, I'm still gonna understand both sides of the argument, and it's a little bit because I didn't feel Jordan playing in his prime. You know what I'm saying? Playing in that big moment when he owned the NBA pretty much. Uh, but it's gonna be hard for me to even think about that when I see, maybe a 36-year-old LeBron James go out and carve up this team that has the best scorer on the planet, that has two of the best scorers on the planet. You know what I'm saying? And three of the best scorers on the planet, Kyrie, Harden, and KD. You know what I'm saying? You can't guard KD. You damn near can't guard Harden. Kyrie, he's a guru at what he does as well. Then you have all the supporting cast. Like, it's just, if somebody can beat that, I'm just like, what more is there to say?
Yeah. Nah, you're right, bro. I have to agree with you. Don't mean to go back to the Nets as well, too, but Harden basically said, we can spend like 30 seconds on this as well, too. Harden basically came out last week, Friday, when he won, when Blake, who looked like Blake of old, and went for 17 points, just murdering everybody. Harden basically said, I am the MVP, and basically there ain't no debate. Do you agree with that? That he is the MVP right now? And I know is what have you done for me lately? I know Embiid's been out and he was a front runner. LeBron's been out; he's been one of the front runners as well too. But do you think this is Harden's MVP to lose right now? And then also, do you think this is kind of going to put a stain on it when it's all said and done? Because the media loves narrative. So one thing they're going to have against him is his stint in Houston. But I mean, look at what Houston's done without him. That just solidifies how great he is. Two, you can argue they've been in and out. KD and Kyrie been in and out the lineup, but KD's missed down almost 25 games as well too. He's been carrying the squad. Three, they just got Blake. KD's about to come back. They got LaMarcus Aldridge. So with all the pieces that he has to play with, pause. Do you feel like that's going to diminish his MVP, award this year?
Yeah, because in my mind it would still be Embiid. Yeah, just looking at that. We're prisoners in the moment sometimes, and we do look at where people, just like the system that we live in, we look at, hey, what was your past job? Can I call your old manager? What would they say about you? Such and such like that. And you look at that, it's like, oh, but I mean, that's no hit to James Harden. It's just a hit to the society we live in. I think for me, from I won't say emotional standpoint, but take it out of it, like, yo, I would give it to Joel right now. Hard is making a good case for himself, but also it's one of those things like, you've continued this spree with a all-star caliber team. LeBron doesn't even have that this year, and even when LeBron has had decent teams, he hasn't had anything that looks like that. He hasn't had anything that he's usually on a glorified G League team, and then it's LeBron James, and he makes them the finals team. And if you had that argument, you couldn't put James Harden over LeBron ever because James Harden's teams were better than LeBron's teams from a collective standpoint in the past.
Well, LeBron's always aside from that last year in Cleveland, since he's reached his prime with Miami, he's always had at least two other All Stars with him. Harden had Chris Paul for a year and a half. I think he had Dwight for maybe 1, 2 years. Other than that, you can also argue that Harden's been kind of carrying that squad as well too. I mean, he did have Russell Westbrook as well too, but it seems like
that wasn't much made.
it feels like LeBron's always had more talent, so to say.
Okay, well, I retract, but I don't know. I'm not in love with James Harden. like I love his game. I mess with him, but I'm just again, it takes me back to that Kobe clip. Is like playing like that's not gonna win you a championship. And that's what he had to do with his other teams. But now he's in a totally different role. So if you use that as fuel, playing like that might just win you a championship. How he's playing now, the assist and so on and so forth. Do I think he's an MVP? No. Do I think he's in the running? Yes. But I'm not sold on it just yet.
I like
Over
that. I like
over over other options that would be right now for me and be.
that. No, yeah, I feel you on that as well too. Some major updates as well too before we get even back into, the trades that I mean the trades that kind of went down during the deadline of last week. Uh, it's crazy how last week we were talking about LaMelo versus Braun and all that stuff as well too. I didn't know the same day that we recorded. I didn't know that he fractured his wrist, bro. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a tough
But
one.
they're saying that at first they say he's going to be out for the entirety of the season, for the remainder of the season. And now that they're saying that, it could be a case where he comes back as well too. So hopefully he comes back because as much as I love Anthony Edwards, bro, I feel like LaMelo deserves this Rookie of the Year, in my opinion, as well too. So
Yeah,
hopefully he gets
definitely.
that joint. And right now, I mean, who doesn't want to see LaMelo in the playoffs right now? We know he's gonna go
Facts.
dummy, and I think right
Facts.
now they're the fourth seed right now. So I'm all for LaMelo coming back. Number two, Bubble TJ Warren, has still been battling plantar fasciitis. So I think he
Yikes.
may be getting surgery on as well too. I thought he was going to come back. That's another person you can throw in there, and it gives you basically 20 to 25 any given night. He's not coming back for the remainder of the season, so that's a huge
TJ Warren's on the
blow.
Hornets?
Nah, he's on the Pacers. He's on the Pacers.
Okay, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So another blow to the Pacers. They've been kind of up and down this season. I feel like if they were fully healthy and like you said, with other teams gotten some games under them, then they would have been fine. But it's not looking good for them as well too.
That's a
So
tough one.
I don't I like to make jokes. So hopefully he comes back healthy, all hand in hand. But the last time we seen Bubble TJ, Jimmy Butler looked like he
Relax.
snatched his soul. Is Jimmy Butler the
Relax.
reason why he hasn't been playing either?
Time out, buddy. Time out, buddy. You gotta
that,
relax.
that's so sicko, man. That's so
Yeah, you're
sicko.
sick.
I'm very sick. So I'm sorry, Bobo TJ. Just want to throw that out there as well too. Another thing I want to talk about as well too. D Rose came back. He's been battling COVID as well too. Came back the other
Sheesh.
day. I think he dropped 17 points and he was looking pretty damn good. And then he came back today as well too. Although they lost to Miami, he still played some good minutes and got you 16 points off the bench. And another thing I want to just talk about: Bradley Beal didn't play. And the Wizards went up against the Pacers. They won 132 to 124. No defense being played whatsoever. But Russell Westbrook had a vintage game: 35 points, 21 assists, 14 rebounds, shot over 50% from the field and over 50% from Trey. So we had a vintage night. Shout out to him. And he's the first person to ever basically have 20 assists and score 35 or over 30 points as well too. So just want to, give a little side recognition as well too. And then also Zion Williamson. Zion's been hooping as of late as well too. He's been looking like baby Shaq. So seems like the Pelicans kind of figured out like, yo, just give Zion the ball, let him be him. Like Ingram,
Yeah.
you a good scorer, you great, but you're going to be the secondary scorer and let Zion be Zion as well too. So hopefully they can start to build up some wins and kind of be in that playoff the playoff playing games as well too. Going back to the trades, the Portland Trail Blazers traded for Norman Powell. Now, when I think of Norman Powell, the first thing I think about is
Nice
last
shot.
year, last year against the Pelicans. You got the Toronto Raptors, obviously, who just came up that championship high, but Pascal Siakam got signed. You still got Fred VanVleet, who just got signed, and obviously you got Kyle Lowry, who's the heart and soul of that whole franchise, that whole team, and whatnot as well too. So the first thing that comes to my mind is, out of all players to win the game, Nick Nurse looked at his entire bench and says, Norman Powell, you coming in the
That
game and you
one.
taking that last shot.
I
Did
want
that
that
shit
one.
like 2-3 times. I want that one. But this year, man, Norman Powell's been on a tear. So just I didn't say it, but he got traded basically for, I think, some draft compensation, and also Gary Trent Jr. RIP. That's my guy. But Norman Powell's been playing great this year. He's been averaging 22 points per game, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, shooting 50% from the field, 85% from free throw line, and 45% from three, which I did not know because obviously I followed the Raptors a lot when Kawhi was in. I followed them a lot last year because they're a good narrative on what can they do without him? And like I want to see, what Fred VanVleet and the young talent, Pascal Siakam, what steps they're going to take moving forward. But there's one of those teams where when you lose and no one really cares, but he's been hooping, and he got traded to the Blazers. And in his 2 games with the Blazers already played pretty quickly. He's averaging 18 points per game, shooting 53% from the field and 67% from three. And they got
So
Nurk back as well too. But just focus on Norman Powell. I guess we can focus on Norman Powell and focus on the Blazers as well too. I was kind of blown at first because I really do rock with Gary Trent, not just his hairstyle, which I'm probably going to jack eventually when my hair gets longer, but I also rock with, just, him being a jiggy dude who can basically be that guy who, catches fire like a Duncan Robinson for that team as well too. But looking at the numbers, Norman Powell not only can shoot better than him based on numbers from three, he also can create his own basket. He can dish it out to you when he gets double teamed, when he basically makes the defense collapse, and he's a better defender. So Portland definitely won in that trade. What are your thoughts on Norman Powell and the Blazers, and then the Blazers moving forward?
I think any kind of hope they get Dame, CJ, and the big man you just mentioned, and Melo's still over there. So dope. But any kind of hope they get those guys that are true to that, not kind of doing the super team stuff. We love it. That's exciting. Them beating any team, 2 teams, getting teams out the way in the playoffs, those first 2 rounds. That's exciting for us. So we never see that kind of team in the finals. But I think Gary Trent Jr. fits that mold. Not Gary Trent Jr. I'm sitting here looking at a picture of Gary Trent Jr. But Norman Powell fits that mold. Super efficient player, somebody you can also go to down the stretch that is going to uh take the onus off of Dame and CJ. So another wing that can find his own shots, and if not, he can't find his own shots. If they're converting with that hope, you can get in there, and then boom, you got your Dame, you got your CJ just waiting, as well as my man's in the middle that can go crazy. Uh, it's like more power to you. I think the Blazers made a great move. Just traded good for better, and maybe not saying this is going to be a piece that's going to put them way over the edge, but this is a piece where you could X and O it with, and it might win you a close game coming down the stretch.
Yeah, yeah, I like him. I like it. So we'll see how we'll see how they work moving forward. Like we said, Nurk just came back, so they're finally fully healthy. So there's just one of those teams you can't count out as well too.
Of course.
Flipping back to the East, uh, Celtics, Danny Ainge, they say he's notorious for basically, saying that there's going to be something spicy happening during trade deadline, and really nothing happens. So he's one of those guys who's always had his trade assets, but never really pulled that trigger as well too, aside from Kyrie Irving as of late. But They were able to get Evan Fournier, and he's on the Celtics as well too. I didn't know that Evan Fournier. First of all, I didn't know he was 6'7". I thought he was like 6'1", 6'2". One, two. Like I said, like Norman Powell, one of those guys who the team's not doing well, so we don't really care. But he's been averaging 20 points, 4 assists, 3 rebounds in his stint with Orlando, shooting 46% from three,
Mhm.
and then no, 38% from three, 46% from the field, and 80% from the free throw line as well too. So to me, kind of just going off of last year with the Celtics, I think he's essentially filling the role that Gordon Hayward filled last year, being that facilitator, and also being that guy that can basically get you, 20 points on any given night as well too. But something still seems wrong with the Celtics, and I know last week we kind of geeked out about it. We really don't know what was going on. I still don't know. Like it's a good pickup, but you kind of lost Tice. Jeff Teague's gone as well too. So I'm still kind of worried about their depth from the bench, and I'm also kind of worried about them not having any size now as well too. But what are your thoughts on Evan Fournier going to the Celtics? What he can provide, and you know I guess part two of what's good with the Celtics.
Um, Keep it short and sweet. Great pickup. What's going on with them? We have no idea if this is going to do anything for them. So, cool, good pickup, but I feel like their problems are probably, I don't know. I could honestly see them going separate ways from Brad Stevens just because it just looks like they need like a shot in the arm, honestly, a revamp.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's gonna dip. I think they just need to change the scenery. And I mean, you're never really in the rebuilding phase if you have, two emerging stars who are not superstars
Hmm.
yet, Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown. So I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of players that are gonna want to play with them moving forward and be a part of something new or build something new. So we'll see what happens. But I feel like Fournier solidifies them being in the playoffs, but
Hmm.
that's about it. They're probably gonna get knocked out the first round. I don't really have that much faith in them, to be real with you. Um, Sticking on in Heat as well too. We kind of briefly talked about them because we wanted Lamarcus, or I thought Lamarcus was going to go there, but they did pick up Oladipo basically for nothing. So they got rid of Kelly Olynyk, Avery Bradley, Chris Silva, and Mo Harkless, and got a pick swap back. But they basically got, like I said, Oladipo for nothing, and they also picked up another stretch four from the Sacramento Kings. His name is Nermanja Jellica. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Oladipo, we kind of know he hasn't really been the same since he's kind of been pretending he ruptured his tendon quad or whatever the injury's called. I don't really know. Ruptured his tendon, whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called. Quadricep tendon, something like that. Hasn't
Uh,
really been the same. Hasn't really been the same. You can just kind of tell by since he's been back, he's kind of back when back from the bubble with the Pacers. He's kind of played a little timid in a sense, shooting a lot more threes, didn't really attack as much as well too. And sometimes just based off his body language, it kind of just looked like he just never wanted to be there, with Indiana because it kind of felt like he wasn't necessarily the guy. They were kind of moving towards what the Nuggets were doing in a sense for a poor man's Jokic. They're kind of playing through their big as well too. So it kind of seems like he wanted to just be in a different environment. And we kind of saw that as well with Houston as well too. Obviously they got rid of Harden, who was their focal point, but I think what the Rockets went on a 20-game losing streak. So you didn't want to be there as well too. You don't want to waste your prime there
Bucks.
as well too. So um, this season he's still played relatively well. I think he averaged 21 points and 5 assists, 5 rebounds, which is well, but efficiency wise, I know everyone likes numbers and whatnot. Not really shooting well from three, 33%, 41% from the field. Still probably a solid free throw shooter as well too, but I like the move a lot because I feel like he's low key wanted to get his way to Miami as well too. And it's not
Bucks.
something where it's a lose for Miami because at the end of the day, if you lose him, you still have cap space to go get another max player. There's rumors that if Kawhi isn't happy and satisfied in the Clippers, Pat Riley is still keeping cap space for him as well too, because they say Kawhi's number one option was Jimmy Butler, regardless of PG as well too. So you still have that, and then like I said, it's a tryout. Is a tryout basically, for him with these last 30 games as well too. We know Miami's going to keep them disciplined. They have crazy parameters set in place to make sure their players are in tip-top shape. They're very disciplined. So
Mhm.
I expect for him to play of Victor Oladipo of old, and I think he's going to be in the starting lineup as well too. Because now it's looking like the starting lineup is going to be him at the one, with Jimmy at the two, Duncan at the three, with Bam, and I think with them acquiring Trevor Ariza, he's going to be their stretch four. So I like what they have with the players that are named Bam, Victor, Jimmy, KZ, Iggy, Ariza, Precious. You can actually switch on everything instead of always relying on zone because they weren't athletically capable to do that. So I think that gives them more versatility moving forward. But I think the biggest missing piece is going to be the lack of size and only having Bam because you have Precious, who's a rookie, but is that really going to solve things? Are you going to look to get Boogie Cousins from the free agency as well too? Like how much better can you get if you're going to go up against the Nets, if you're going to go up against the Bucks, if you're going to go up against the Philadelphia 76ers, who has Joel Embiid? So I like the move. I don't necessarily love the move, but they definitely marginally got better. But I don't know how far they're going to go. What are your thoughts on Victor Oladipo in the Miami
Mm,
Heat moving forward?
yeah, they got better from a personnel standpoint, like plugging in some of the X's and O's. Even coming down the stretch, I don't see them maybe teetering somewhat from some of the zone. I mean, maybe there's some possessions where they couldn't have sacrificed last time to go man, but I still even think like there's just a few things, and they're so blue collar, so they don't mind winning in a different way. Um, it's like, hey, I know you're a superstar, whatever, like that, but you're gonna get your ass in there and you're gonna play a 2-3 zone, and you're gonna keep the Greek freak out. We'll go back on the other side. We'll shoot, pass the ball to Tyler. He's gonna shoot. Jimmy's gonna find a way. But it's a blue collar team. Like they find a way to build a team of guys that just want to go out there and hoop, and find a way with their leader who's relentless, and Jimmy Butler. So he does save them from such a steep fall off that we might have seen in maybe the finals last year. But I think with how they run their organization, how Eric Spoelstra coaches, and how they just kind of go about doing things, I think they can put themselves in a really good position to be competing again. I mean, I won't say for a NBA championship, but get deeper than we thought they would in the Eastern Conference, and maybe even get to the Eastern Conference Finals by not necessarily a surprise, but more of like a damn, like they really did that kind of thing. So um, I think he's a good piece to this chessboard that is the Miami Heat and what they do. Definitely coming down the stretch with a team that's in striking distance at all times.
Okay, cool. And then going to our last Eastern team, Vucevic. Obviously, we already know the Orlando Magic cleared the deck, and they just decided, yo, we're kind of tired of just being a
Mhm.
bottom tier playoff team. We can't really get far if we're going to be the eighth seed every year. Lost to Kawhi and the Raptors, lost to the Bucks, and it just goes on and on and on again as well too. So um, I respect it. I would have probably done the same thing as well too. Get some draft picks back, expiring contracts, clear up some cap space, and just try to do what the Knicks are doing right now, or any other team that's really trying to do what they're trying to do right now. So respect it. But Vucevic is now in the Bulls. Vucevic, obviously, I think this is the second go around being an All Star this year. Is averaging 25 points, 12 rebounds, 4 assists, 48% from the field, 40% from three, over 80% from the free throw line as well too. Um, I like it because at the end of the day, like you got to keep your superstar happy, right? And we
Yeah,
we some people may not view Zach LaVine as a superstar, but he's a superstar in his own right. He's still a star, but I don't think he's a superstar quite yet. But he's definitely the
star.
star that the Bulls need right now. So that kind of locks up them for at least 2 to 3 more years with Levine as well too, and that gives him a crime partner, which he's never had. A talented player like that as well too. I mean, you had Cat to an extent back in what you call it, Minnesota, but Levine kind of got hurt prematurely and tore his ACL, and that's when he got traded for Jimmy Butler. So um, I like it. Like I said, I think it's something to this lets me know that Levine, we want you here for a long haul. Two, we're in the East. We're kind of the bottom tier, but we're kind of maybe this can help us attract free agents and moving forward. And then also we're kind of in a win now or compete now contention as well too. So I
Mhm.
like it. I don't love it, but like I said, it keeps him afloat somehow as well too. So now you got Kobe White, Zach Levine, Patrick Williams, Laurie Markin, and Vucevic now as well too. But what are your thoughts on Vucevic going to the Bulls and I guess the Bulls moving forward?
7 foot tall, efficient, big man. Um, Puts them in a decent position to maybe, come out and start competing for some of those playoff spots, possibly. If they can figure out a way to put it together and maybe get some other pieces that'll support. But I like it from a young team. Vucevic is 30. Again, 7 foot tall, averages like 25 points a game. Well needed up there. Hopefully they find a way to put it together systematically. But it's a good move.
Yeah, it's a good move. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, like it kind of feels like the Chicago Bulls are the Orlando Magic now. Like you're gonna make the
Yeah.
playoffs every year, but you're gonna get bumped out the first round. But we'll
Yeah.
see. Maybe it's something they can build from. Obviously, they kind of reconstructed the personnel and their franchise, and obviously Billy Donovan is a new coach as well too. So maybe they might have something uh, you know, building moving forward. So we'll see what happens with that as well. Um, Moving back to the West, and we're going to end at the West. Uh, One of the moves I like a lot as well too is Aaron Gordon to the Nuggets, and also McGee to the Nuggets as well too. So Aaron Gordon, I think he was the fourth pick a couple years back as well too. I don't necessarily think he's lived up to that lottery pick hype, but I think he's been a pretty damn good player his whole career as well too. So I like it. This year he's averaging 15 points a game, 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and shot 37% from the three as well too. And I think his debut yesterday against the Nuggets, which is Sunday, this is coming out Tuesday. Um, he got you 13 points as well too. So I think they're essentially picking up where they left off at in a sense of with me, I didn't necessarily put them as favorites because they lost Jeremy Grant, but you can argue that he's a better player than Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant's kind of just obviously he's the number one option, so he's going to get up more shots, but you can argue that he's a better player. And he's someone who is 6'8, 225 pounds, a slasher, lob threat, can shoot the tray, can take you off the dribble. He can basically do everything relatively as well too, and that just gives him another option for Jokic to play with as well too. So I like it a lot. And with McGee, I mean, we like you said earlier, LeBron works well with other bigs as well too. With McGee,
Mm-hmm.
with Jokic going on the tear as well too, that's just another option you can give. And Jokic literally is their point guard for real, for real. So you can have
Right.
options where you have McGee at the 5 and Jokic at the 4 running the show as well too. So McGee's going to be another big who that they're going to need moving forward as well too. So I love it moving forward. And with me, I think they're going to be a team that's to be reckoned with. I can see them get as far as the conference finals, potentially depending on the seedings, the finals as well too. Because until the Clippers prove something to me, which we'll talk about after this, the West, aside from the Lakers, obviously being relatively healthy, not healthy, the West is up for grabs as well too. But I like it a lot. Only
Yeah.
thing I'm worried about, I know they got that foreigner that's a backup point guard who's about like 5'10" or whatnot, but I think they could still use a point guard to come off the bench as well too, because it kind of went kind of big now with the forward and in the front line position locked up. But what are your thoughts on Gordon to the Nuggets, man?
I think it was a good move. Like you said, replacing Jeremy Grant, correct?
Mm-hmm.
In a way for all his contributions, and he was a damn good player. Stretching the floor, doing what had to be done from an offensive standpoint, kind of getting wherever he wanted on the floor. Aaron Gordon kind of brings that same kind of feeling. Different player, but same kind of feeling. Uh, and really, yeah, you're right. It comes down to possibly some of the perimeter defending, but we know, if it gets bad, then what do they have? And they have a Michael Porter, but he's still kind of bigger. But when it came down to like the nitty gritty, they ran the pick and roll with Jokic and Jamal Murray for a whole how long is an NBA game? Like 40, like 40 plus minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
they ran it the whole time, and it was damn near impossible to stop for the team that bounced them out last year. But we know that's when the worst comes down to worst, but when you're still playing, still facilitating and still trying to find your other options, Aaron Gordon is a damn good pickup. Um You got, a 7 foot tall point guard who also can find a way to the basket. You have emerging players like uh, MPJ, right? MPJ,
Yeah,
yeah,
PGA Will Barton.
Michael Porter Jr. And so on and so forth. And you have did this before. You came into the playoffs. You've been in these positions, so now we're just getting over the hump. So again, we wouldn't be surprised if we saw this team beat a team that we had, you know, being a little bit more consistent or so on and so forth. Those 8 seeds in the West are like up for grabs. Just depends on who's kind of having what night, how the games look, as we've seen from last year. Granted, it was a bubble, but as we've seen from the Nuggets, as we've seen from the Thunder, as we've seen from the Blazers, Jazz, all teams that are in contention right now, and throwing the Suns that are the glorified Thunder this year, with Chris Paul and D Book leading them. You never know what's gonna happen.
Nah, that's facts. And yeah, they can go big, but yet still be defensively capable of keeping them on the floor. So I'm just, thinking of different lines that they can have to close out the game. You're probably gonna have you can have Jamal with MPJ, Gordon, Millsap, and Jokic if you want, or you can flip it and instead of Jokic, you can put JaVale McGee, or you can just put Will Barton there, and they can make some noise as well too. So I like it. Like you said, we wouldn't be surprised if they get far as the conference finals, potentially the finals, depending on seedings and whatnot. But they look damn good,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I think they're going to be a team to be reckoned with. So I'm excited for Aaron Gordon. He finally gets to be on a team that's actually playing for something. You know what I'm saying? So I respect it as well too. And then last but not least, I had to save this one for last. You know what I'm saying? The Los Angeles Clippers. Now, biggest thing with me is like I every now and then I'll talk about the Clippers. Obviously, I haven't really been publicizing or giving them their flowers this year. They've been playing relatively well this year, but they've left such a bad taste in my mouth from last season. I'm just like, yo, I don't give a damn what y'all do this season. If y'all like the regular season, but if y'all gonna choke again like that in the playoffs, and now I want to hear. So until you guys get back in the playoffs, like I'm gonna see y'all progressions. I'm gonna see how PG playing. I'm gonna see how y'all handle the situation in crunch time. But it kind of seemed like the same Clippers, and I started to see Paul George in some games this season look like Paul George in the bubble, the pandemic P. But they got Rajon Rondo. RIP to Lemon Pepper Lou. That's kind
Yeah,
of, I
man.
think he said, yo, if I were to, leave the Clippers, I would retire. He from Atlanta. He got all the wings he want. And I like it for Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? They're in playoff contention. They've won like 8 of their last, 11 games, I think, as well, too. So that would be a good spark off the bench for them as well. But I like Rondo. And I knew this was going to happen. I don't know if I told you this or told Warren or told someone else that I talk hoops with a lot as well, too.
Hmm.
But I said, watch the Clippers try to get Rajon Rondo or Derrick Rose. And what they're probably going to have to give up is Lou Williams because if you look at their salaries, they're all making around like $8 million a year. And I knew with Rondo, come on, let's face it, you either going to want to get paid at this point in your career or you want to at this part of your career, you're going to want to be basically in title contentions as well too. No one wants to
Hell yeah.
digress, especially if you just won a championship. You know what I'm saying? So with me, I knew we didn't have enough money to sign him, and we were going to have to give him only like 3-4 mil. But I knew his agent was going to be like, "Yo, let's just do this. We're going to get you as much money as you can possibly get in the market, given your playoff play, and then from there, you're probably going to play limited minutes. So let's f that up, and then you're going to just use you as trade bait." So he got paid, and now he's back in LA, which is pretty fire. So I would never use his regular season stats for this season as any indication of what's going to be expected because this year he's only averaging 4 points, 4 assists, shooting 37% from the field. Um, no, 37% from three, and then 50% from the free throw line, which is ridiculous. He's just one of those guys where he don't care about the regular season. Playoff Rondo is a real thing, ladies and gentlemen. It's not a myth. Last year in the
Yeah, man.
playoffs, averaged 9 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, shot 43%, 40% from three as well too. So I love it because there's no more excuses. Kawhi came out last season after the whole, BS happened in the bubble and basically said, "Yo, we need a point guard. We don't have enough IQ. We got you Batum, who's a high IQ player, who in my mind is kind of like what Boris Diaw was to the Spurs back in their championship run. We got Serge Ibaka, who's been there before, who you won a championship as well with too. And now we got Rajon Rondo as well too. So he's going to be that floor general who's not only going to lead, um, be that vocal leader for them as well too. He's going to challenge these guys. He's going to generate a lot of offense for the role players, which I'm excited about. And now Kawhi Leonard, who's turning kind of to a point forward, PG, who's kind of turned to a point forward, you allow them to just be shot creators for themselves as well too. Just fully focus on offense, and obviously the defensive end as well too. So I like it. I think it's going to work wonders for them right now, depending on how the Lakers' health turned out. Right now, I believe that they would be my favorites, but it's going to be one of those things where you're just going to have to wait and see. But you already know it's a plus as well too. And a lot of people saying, well, you got rid of Lou Williams, who essentially was that their reigning six man and whatnot as well too. Lou Williams, I kind of knew he was leaving because he was only playing. He's normally playing 30 minutes a game. He's got reduced to 22 minutes.
Yeah.
Last year's averaging almost 20 points. Only averaged 12 points this year. And I don't know if you've been paying attention. Terrence Mann has been playing very, very well as of late as well too. So I kind of saw
Oh,
them taking that direction, going younger, and obviously it's helping with the salary as well too. And Terrence Mann is one of those guys who, he plays great defense. He's a walking bucket in transition. He can make his open shots from the corner, and he's just playing, the right brand of basketball right now as well too. So I like Rondo there. I'm only concerned about two things. One, obviously, he's going to command the respect from everyone in that organization, but is PG going to have enough tough skin to, yo, I'm calling you out, bro? You gonna rock with it or you not? One, and then two, Rondo's also known to be injury prone as well, too, bro. That's one thing I'm
facts.
concerned about as well, too. Like, are you going to be there for me for the long haul? Are you going to be there to play the remainder of the season? And then are you going to get injured at some point in time where we're going to need you in the playoffs as well, too? So that's my only concern. But other than that, I think it's a win-win. But what are your thoughts on all that?
I think good move. Sucks to see Lou go because he's such a good player. Rondo, shout out to Rondo, Rondo's agent. But like you said, shouts to Rondo in the playoffs. So we're not gonna see the true him. Like even like I think he was talking to Jamel Hill. He was like, Jamel Hill. He's like, yo, like yeah, like I'm older, man. It's like sometimes I don't feel like guarding that guy. My body doesn't feel like doing it. So he finds a way to bring his game to the playoffs. And that's where he kind of shines at. Um, so you know, as another year went by, another year older, another year on his legs, so on and so forth. Um, the Clippers start looking like the Clippers of the bubble. It could be scary regardless whether he's giving us 9 points a game or not. Um, only time will tell with them. I think good move on both teams' part, but Clippers are just a team where it's like you got to go face the music. You got to go check in with the young boys too. If they hooping, the Nuggets, the Jazz, such and such. Ain't nobody really gonna let you slide no more. And if the Lakers get you, the Lakers are gonna give you their best outing, just like you're gonna give the Lakers your best outing. And both of those teams, the perennial powers in LA, are kind of ailing. There's just blood in the water a little bit. The injuries, the so-so-ness. You've won a 3-1 league. People remember you blew a 3-1 league, so they're going to play you hard every game. Hopefully, see a crack in your armor. They know you had a breakdown the other day, so they're going to see it. They're going to poke you the bear and see if they can get you off guard again. So we'll see what happens. Nothing written in stone for the Clippers from us because we just want to see them get past a certain point and be great and play the Lakers in the conference finals like they're supposed to be destined to. And if they don't do that, they're a bust.
Yeah. And obviously he's going to be playing limited minutes. Probably, I'm thinking 25, 30, probably in the playoffs, 30, 35 if he can handle it. But I can't wait to just see his debut. Like, you already know, like, he obviously is not no Chris Paul or LeBron James or whatever, but he commands that offense. Like, he
He
plays with
does.
so much pace and just gives everyone confidence, bro. So I'm excited to see how he's going to progress moving forward. And I hope that this is literally what Kawhi and what PG needed. So now it's just no excuse. Like, we should at minimum see finally the battle of LA in the conference finals, because even the way it's said right now, if the playoffs were to start today, they are set to see each other in the conference finals. So Kawhi owes us that. You know what I'm saying? I ain't letting him off the hook. And I know I was tweaking. I still remember. I don't know if you agree with me or whatnot, but I don't know if you remember. We were kind of late as well too. I don't know. I think it was after Kawhi won the championship. We all went to Manny's crib and we were all arguing with each other. All the boys were arguing, and we were basically saying, I think it was for Smooth's birthday or something like that, surprise
Okay.
birthday or whatever like that. And we were like, yo, Kawhi the best player in the league right now. I think you co-sign with me. I'm not sure, but if memory holds constant, I think you co-sign with me. But looking back at it, I was like, yo, I was tweaking, bro. It's just what have you done for me lately? Because LeBron got hurt, you know what I'm saying? So and KD was out too. So we're just looking for someone to crown it, you know what I'm saying? He won a finals MVP. So I was like,
Yeah,
yo, it can only go up
I
from here. So
I think I remember
um
that.
yeah, so LeBron's still the best, but like I said, Kawhi, like literally this is what you wanted. So let me see what you got. So I'm excited to see what happens moving forward as well too. So moving on to our last topic, Doc Rivers came out and said the Clippers and Lakers are still teams to be in the West. Now I agree with him, but the first thing that I think about is just going from the All Star selections with KD and LeBron James. Just like nobody respects the Utah Jazz, bro. It's kind of sick. Like they get disrespected so much. I don't know what it is, but do you feel like Doc Rivers is right? It still goes through the Lakers and the Clippers out the West, or are there other teams that you think that can potentially, represent the West moving forward, or when it's all said and done, rather?
I think those teams, because of the money they generate and so on and so forth, they got the block locked down. You know what I'm saying? But ain't nothing for one of these new cats to come in with that shotty, go pop the trunk, and then it's Ricky, Ricky, and everybody run because
Clack.
it's always the least expected. You know what I'm saying? We just rolling down in the old school drain, just pointing and then doing the back got it on him, something like that. So, I think the street is theirs, but at the same time, you don't know who's gonna come rolling down that street with that thing on them. And the Jazz, Nuggets, and, the Blazers always got that thing on them. It's like Dame catch a body each year, and then there's somebody that's going home crying, and Dame just not changing his expression just after and even so on and so forth. You know, he gets his laugh before and after. It's like, oh, y'all might beat me, but somebody's gonna go sit y'all down. Probably LeBron all the time. It's like, yo, come over here, come join. We got such and such. We booked a vacation over here, so y'all might as well come over and kick it with us on vacation because y'all about to be up next in a few weeks. So those that's the avenue you have to walk down, but at the same time stay dangerous. So I get what Doc is saying, but stay dangerous.
Yeah. Um, I agree with Doc. Like I said, there's some teams that look good. Um, even though we just talked about Rondo, getting acquired by the Clippers, that kind of gives me a little bit of security on, hey, they can actually, get past the second round of the playoffs as well too. But before that, and even like we said with Rondo's injury history, we got to see if it works out and whatnot, X, Y, and Z. Um, I feel like aside from the Lakers getting to the conference finals, there's still other teams that I would not be surprised at all. Like they can beat the Clippers or whoever's on the other side of the seedings as well too. Um, I like Utah. They've been the best team all year record wise, but I still feel like Donovan Mitchell, when it comes down to it, is going to be Donovan Mitchell or die. I don't think Rudy Gobert has. He's not a shot creator. He's just a lob threat, cleans up the boards, and is a defensive presence in the paint. But other than that, you can't go to him and say, "Yo, make your free throws in the crunch time. Yo, give me a bucket in the crunch time." And the ISO
Yeah.
since it's a mismatch damn near every single time. So I don't see that. Mike Conley been playing a great season, but he's too inconsistent for me with games I've seen down the stretch as well too. You'd think he would be the running mate for him, but I'm not quite sold on that as well too. Jordan Clarkson been playing great. probably going to be
That
6
one.
million a year as well too.
I'm
Do you
hoping.
have confidence in him to actually be consistent in the playoffs as well too?
Oh
These are a
yeah.
lot of things that I have problems with as well too. Suns, second best record. Chris Paul is literally King Midas, bro. They may not get to the finals, but wherever that motherfucker go, they win, and it's kind of crazy. Like we
Yeah.
gotta give him his flowers. We are giving him his flowers as well too. I like them. Went 8-0 in the bubble. Now second best team in the West, but I feel like their youth is going to be what basically is their demise. Like I see them getting past the first round, but after that, I think that because of their youth, we'll see. So the only teams I really have confidence in is the Nuggets, who went to the conference finals. Like we said, re-upped as well too. And then, like you said, with Dame time, bro, they got Norman Powell. They got everyone healthy. CJ obviously was playing hurt. Dame messed up his index finger. He wasn't even able to finish out the conference. I mean, the first round of playoffs last year. And now they're kind of sitting comfortably with where they're at right now. So those would be the three teams that I like to see. But like I said, let's not forget, even though Utah number one seed, they blew a 3-1 league as well too last year. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
like we said, the Suns are kind of young as well too. Dallas, I still gotta see Porzingis healthy and whatnot as well too. Spurs, they may win one game in the first round. Warriors, we don't even know if they're gonna be in the play-in game, but we don't even know if what route they decide to take as well too, in the sense of, do we actually want to get out of this and get, our draft compensation? Like, what do we want to do? Let's wait for Clay to come back. So I don't really know what's going to happen with that as well too. So I think I agree with Doc to an extent, but I wouldn't count out the Nuggets. I wouldn't count out the Blazers as well too, with those teams that could potentially make noise as well too. But yeah, that was episode 105. Got any last minute words?
Yeah, man. So unfortunately, I don't, and I hate on the bad ones. Great episode, but I just have to give a shout out and let people know what's going on in certain communities. Definitely
Yeah,
our
hell yeah.
hometown in our area. Um, uh, so rest in peace to the two people that lost their lives. Definitely somebody that was close to a lot of the associated people that I hang around. Um, Donovan Lynch, he was 25 years old, played football at UVA Wise, I believe. Some kin to Pharrell as well as Deshae Harris that were killed in a shooting at Virginia Beach Oceanfront on last Friday. No, Saturday night. It was a Friday or Saturday night. I'm sorry, I'm getting some of the information mixed up. But yeah, man, it's tough. It's tough. It was Friday night. It's tough because there are a few ways it's tough. One, because you see, young people losing their life. He was 25, she was 29. Um, had ties to the community in both ways, and they were just people that didn't deserve to lose their life. And it's hard to see black people lose their life, but also on the other side of that stone, the kids that did it were from Chesapeake for where I'm based out of for a lot of reasons. And they were kids that were not even over 21 years of age. They were 20, 18, and I think another 20 again. So it's like, man, yeah, we've been in the pandemic. There's been a lot of stuff going on, but God bless the victims, and yes, let justice be served. But you hate to see that happen with youth. And I say anybody, under 40 at this point, is still, youthful, and even over 40, age is a mindset and how you conduct yourself. But, seeing people lose their lives is just senseless. As well as, and we'll get into this later. My man's Donovan Lynch, who lost his life, he wasn't even killed in the shooting that the guys took place in. He was killed by a police officer. He was unarmed, and the police officer shot him because he saw Donovan walking towards him, trying to get away from the shooting. So just prayers for the city, prayers for those families from Mr. Donovan Lynch and Miss DeShayla Shea Harris at 29 years old. So that's my 2 cents. And yeah, man, just prayers. Tell your people you love them, and be safe. When this stuff opens back up, man, there's going to be a totally different energy in the streets, like nothing we've ever seen before. So you have to watch your back because this stuff is already crazy how it has been. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I hear you on that one as well too. So prayers out to the family members of the lost ones as well too. And let's just try to do better. And another thing as well too, I watched that 2 minute little mini IGTV video on Bradley Beal's page as well too, and I loved it. It was dope. And one thing I have to say is like, it's literally no sugarcoating. Like everyone who's successful, no matter what fucking field you're in, it's one thing hold. I mean, some people get lucky, you know what I'm saying, depending on what it is. But for the most part, 99.9% of the time, what holds constant is finding your passion, being disciplined, time management, and
Hmm.
work ethic. If you can have all four of those and never be afraid to ask questions, if you can have all five of those things, then you can do whatever the fuck you want. So I
Right.
hope you guys watch that video because even though it's just a couple minutes, like that's literally the blueprint right there, bro.
You
That's
gave it
literally
up.
it right there, bro. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, that was episode 105 of the Seezus Show. Make sure to subscribe on all forms of social media at Sir Seezus at TraderXXIV and obviously the Seezus Show. We out.
Yes, sir.